Mallory's younger brother, Derek, was diagnosed with severe cerebral palsy at birth. Their childhood together taught her the true meaning of empathy. And inspired by her brother, Mallory transformed her understanding of human struggle into a powerful career of humanitarian work. At the age of 32, Mallory has started 2 social impact companies. She's traveled to 50 countries and directly helped thousands in need. Currently, she's walking a global marathon for women's empowerment, and today we're invited to join her on her journey around the world, stepping into the shoes of impoverished working women. And each of Mallory's miles explores the power of empathy and how each of us can make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mallory Brown.
Good morning. I brought with me today a photograph of my younger brother, Derek. He was born with cerebral palsy, and as Tom said, he's the inspiration for so much of what I do. It's truly an honor to be in a room today with so many people dedicated to helping others with brain injury. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to leave this photograph of Derek up here so he can be on stage with me. Today, I would like to take you on a journey, and it starts in a very unexpected place, in Las Vegas. Yeah, in Sin City. But the Vegas that you and I know, the one of the strip, of the casinos, the lights, indulgence, there's a different side of Vegas that you probably have never seen. You see, underneath the Las Vegas Strip, there are 300 miles of flood channels, and the homeless live in them, underground, in the dark. No electricity, no running water. They're exposed to the elements outside. And 2 to 3 times a year, when it rains in Vegas, the flood channels do what they were built to do. They rush the water out of the city at speeds of 30 miles per hour, taking everything in its path along with it. So if these homeless people have acquired any sort of possessions, they're swept away every time it rains. And occasionally, people are caught in that. If you look at the local newspapers in Vegas, you'll find that occasionally someone drowns in the flood channels. I first heard about these channels from a local news story written by a man named Matt O'Brien, a local journalist who went into the channels and befriended some of the homeless people. I couldn't understand why someone would choose to live underground. So I went to Vegas to see if Matt would take me into the tunnels. And he did. And I met a homeless man named Billy. Billy was a veteran. He served in the US Army. He was homeless upon his return to the US, and he had been homeless for 20 years. Billy was sober. He didn't drink, he didn't do any drugs. Now, if you have ever had the desire to sit down with a homeless person and ask them honest, unfiltered questions, like, how much money do you really make holding that sign? And why have you never found a job? And how do people treat you? When's the last time you showered? If there was ever an opportunity to get those real answers, it was now. Billy allowed me to interview him. And at the end of his interview, I asked him a question. I said, if you could have anything in the world, what would you want? And his answer would probably surprise you. I'd like to play you a quick video of my time in Vegas, and at the end, you'll hear Billy's answer to my question.
There are 300 miles of underground flood channels in Las Vegas, and hundreds of people live in these tunnels.
I think it's the contrast, the gambling cathedrals of the Strip, and then right down here you have people living on a cardboard mat in this black and gray underworld.
I've become good friends with a lot of the people down there.
And Billy is among those.
How you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
I'm breathing.
That's good. Breathing's
I'm
good.
standing.
He's just a funny guy. He's caring. He's honest.
This is where I sleep. This is a cot. It ain't much, but it sure as does beat sleeping on the rocks. First night I was homeless, I wrapped up in bubble paper. I was freezing my ass off. At one time, the most I've ever went is 7 days with nothing to eat. I fought for you, and I got to stand here with a sign that says, "So you'll give me something so I don't have to starve tonight or go dig in a damn dumpster." I'd love to hold my kids before I die. I'd love to be able to hold my grandkids before I die. That's what I want.
I would love to hold my kids before I die. I would love to hold my grandkids before I die. That's what I want. It gave me goosebumps. It still does today. And I realized that beneath the labels everyone puts on Billy, he's a man. He's a father. He's a human. Now today, each of you came into this room playing a specific role. Maybe you're a healthcare provider. Maybe you're a brain injury survivor. Maybe a caretaker, a therapist. But beneath that role, you are a human. And I'm here to talk to that human within you, same as the one within me and the one within Billy. My job is to travel the world and tell stories of the humanity within us. I'm a humanitarian filmmaker and an activist. I travel to remote places around the world and document my personal experience with people living in poverty. I use my films to help raise awareness for humanitarian issues and to bring real help to people who need it. My work has provided me the opportunity to stand face to face with people that are facing extreme adversity, extreme difficulties, and show compassion toward them. I'm sure you guys know a thing or two about that, about going to work in the morning and seeing people that are facing such challenges and having the ability to show compassion to them. My work has taken me to 50 countries around the world. I have seen people living in conditions that you could never imagine living. And I understand it's not easy to always show them empathy and compassion. It's challenging. For a multitude of reasons, it's hard. First, when you see trauma every day, you oddly start to become used to it. I remember the first time I saw a woman carrying water on her head. I wanted to run over there and help her out. That thing is heavy, and she's carrying it miles back to her hut. But now I've done this for so many years, I've seen thousands of women carrying water on their head, and I sort of get used to it. I'm sure it's the same for you. You see person after person, after patient, after patient, after injury, and you just start to become used to it. And then on top of that, you say, well, Mallory, yes, of course I should show compassion for someone, of course. But compassion isn't going to cure them. Compassion isn't going to solve the problem. I actually have a job to do. I'm paid to do a job. I've got a to-do list 1,000 things long, and compassion isn't the top of the list. And furthermore, when you start to realize how widespread the need is, it's overwhelming. When I realized that there are 1 billion people on our planet that live on less than $1 a day, 1 billion people, and I am just one person, and what difference am I really going to make? And when you see that every year there are new brain injuries and they need a lifetime of treatment, a lifetime of support, and then on top of that you start to realize that it's really a battle against an entire healthcare industry, all of the insurance companies, and you're just one person, and what's the difference that you are really going to make? Well, I'm here to tell you it's more than you think. You can make a bigger impact than you think you can. Compassion will take you further than you could ever imagine. And the impact you can create on the people around you is beyond what you could have dreamed. I have seen miracles happen in my work from showing someone a little compassion. My understanding of empathy, it didn't start with Billy in Vegas. It started a long time before. On April 30th, 1989, my younger brother Derek was born. I was a few months shy of 3 years old. My older sister was a few months shy of 5. That is me in the photo. I used to have curly blonde hair. I was so excited to have a younger brother, and I was too young to realize that he came too early. Derek was born 3 months premature. His birth weight was 2 pounds, 5 ounces. His first breath on our planet, it was too much for the blood vessels in his brain, and they burst, killing many of his brain cells. He was soon diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Now, my parents were fiercely dedicated to helping him. They would try any treatment. They wanted to give him the best life possible. We started patterning, a form of physical therapy. It took 4 grown adults, each one taking a part of my brother's body, and we would simulate the movements of crawling and sitting up. The idea is that repetition of this, my brother would start to gain muscle memory and learn how to do it on his own. My mom organized 3 sessions of people to come to our house every day, 3 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 1 hour at night. 60 people rotating through my house every week for 5 years. I learned how dedicated someone can be to helping someone else. But to me, I wasn't focused on his treatment. I just thought he was cute. He was my brother. I used to dress him up. I would take him sledding. I used to make him wear these silly penguin hats because when I was young, I was like obsessed with wearing these silly hats all the time. I loved him so much. When we got to be school age, my parents petitioned for my brother to be included into regular classrooms. They didn't want him in special ed. And because of my mom's persistence, my brother was the first person with physical disabilities to be included into Farmington Public Schools classes. He had a full-time aide, and he went through the same way my sister and I did, all of the same teachers. But as we started to get older, I started to notice the differences between my brother's life and mine. You see, we were born into the same household with the same wonderful parents, the same family values, the same income level. We had the same teachers, the same school district, and we should have had the same opportunities in life. And we didn't, not by any stretch of the imagination. My brother couldn't walk. He couldn't talk. He couldn't feed himself. He had seizures. He was in pain. He would never be invited to a friend's house for a sleepover. He'd never have a girlfriend. He'd never have a job. My brother taught me not to judge someone based on their circumstance, because often their circumstance is out of their control. Growing up with my brother is like having a wake-up call every day. It's like a grounding moment. I hope you get that when you go to work every day. This grounding moment of gratitude of all of the opportunities that you have. But the most profound moments to me were not those of between my brother and I. It was watching the way that other people treated Derek. The students in school that would push his wheelchair between classes versus the students that ignored him. The toddlers in a park that would pick a bouquet of wildflowers and run them up to my brother in his wheelchair to give it to him, versus the toddlers that would point and cry and run away because they didn't understand. The doctors that would treat my brother, the doctors that came in on Saturday mornings to give him Botox shots in his dislocated leg, the ones that went to battle to get him the medicine that he needed, versus the lists of doctors that wouldn't see him, that refused to treat him because they didn't want the liability. I learned that we have a choice in the way that we treat others. And the greater someone else's need, the more gravity lies in our choice. Now, inevitably, I turned into a humanitarian. This rubbed off on me. And I decided I would set out to go try to help people in the most extreme circumstances. I wanted the choices I made to matter. On my 30th birthday, I wanted the choice of how I celebrated to matter. So I reached out to my friend Melanie from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Melanie runs a nonprofit called Begin With One. Now, Begin With One works with a small remote village in southern Ethiopia called Chapa, Ethiopia. So I asked Melanie, what did the people of Chapa need? And she said, well, they live off the grid, and there are really no jobs available. They literally just live in the jungles of Ethiopia. And the women had been begging to work. They really wanted to earn an income. So Begin With One was starting a women's entrepreneurial program. So I asked Melanie, well, how many women do you think would be ready to start in this first round of the entrepreneurial program? And she said, we've got about 30 women. So that was my sign. 30th birthday, 30 women. I wanted to raise $30,000 on my birthday to help them. Great plan, but challenging goal. $30,000 is a lot of money to raise, and I'd never done that before. But I took a lesson from my mom. I remembered those people coming through my house when I was young, and I knew that small acts from a lot of people can add up to great change. So I reached out to 30 of my friends, and I asked them to sign up to be team members to help me. Each of them would sponsor one particular woman in Ethiopia. So Diana on the top left, she sponsors a woman named Wade. And Aylin on the bottom, she sponsored a woman named Burka. I asked them to commit to fundraising $500 on my birthday to help that woman. If everyone did it, it would get me halfway to my goal at least. I didn't know if women would agree to do this, because people don't normally like to celebrate things on their own birthday. They hate asking other people for money, especially for someone else's birthday. And, oh, by the way, I wasn't going to be here. I would be in Ethiopia with the women, a country you probably can't point out on a map and honestly have probably never had interest in before. But will you help me? And surprisingly, people said yes. 30 women signed up right away. I learned that people really want to give back, and often they just need the steps laid out for them. They need someone to light the way. So you may wonder how they did, how it went. Well, each of the women far surpassed their $500 goal. My birthday in Ethiopia went a little something like this. I published a CrowdRise fundraiser to raise $30,000 in 24 hours to provide 30 jobs. It's fundraiser day. The donations are coming in. I'm so excited. We're about to tell the women that they can start working today. Hey, I just want to say thank you so much for donating. I'm here with the women, and we're about to start their businesses. And we surpassed our $30,000 goal. Thank you so much for donating to help these 30 women. Their new jobs will provide a sustainable source of income, which will empower them to truly transform their lives. Best birthday ever. Thank you. So So I raised almost $42,000 in 24 hours to help these women in Ethiopia. This is a photograph of me on my birthday. They baked me a little American cake. They tried to make it as Western as possible. It was very cute. But I learned something on my birthday about leadership. You see, I used to think that leadership was finding the solution to a problem and charging forward with best practices and enthusiasm so that others could follow suit. But leadership isn't about creating the change yourself. Leadership is about empowering other people to create change. Leadership is being a catalyst for change. In order for me to have a successful 30th birthday, all I needed to do was empower other women to make a difference. So now I have a question for you. I want you to think of someone in your life that's in need, a specific person, someone that needs your help. Maybe it's a survivor, maybe a coworker. It can be a family member that's going through a hard time, a neighbor, but think of a specific person. Envision them in your head right now. And now, instead of you solving their problem, helping them directly, what if you could be a catalyst for change? What if you could empower someone else, bring them into the fold to help? Who would you ask? Maybe now it's your coworkers. Maybe you would ask your coworkers to rally and help this person. Maybe you'd go to someone more qualified than you, a specialist. They can provide better help. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe you'd invite your kids to step up and help this person. Think of that today. Who's the one person you could help right now if you could? And who would you ask to join you? I wanted to continue the success of my 30th birthday. I loved the idea of empowering women to work. You see, I'm a female entrepreneur myself, and I just saw myself in each of these women's eyes. I thought about the one word that describes what I do best, and it's the word empathy. Empathy is feeling with someone. It's not feeling for someone. That's sympathy. That's feeling sympathy or pity for someone. Empathy is trying to understand from their perspective. It's best described in this quote: "Don't judge someone until you have walked a mile in their shoes." Famous American proverb. You've all heard it. So I thought, well, what if I could take this figure of speech and make it real? What if I could literally walk a mile in someone else's shoes? I could travel to working women around the world, step into their shoes, and do what I do best. I'll make a film about my experience. That way I could showcase what it's really like to be these women. What are their struggles? But in addition to showing their struggles, I would also show the solutions, the incredible nonprofits that are working out there to provide small business loans, to skills training, business training to all of these women. And because I'm kind of a go big or go home person, I don't know if you've figured that out yet, but I didn't want to walk just 1 mile. I wanted to walk a marathon. 26 miles, 26 women, 26 charities, 26 stories of strength. Walk a Mile is an ongoing project for me, and every mile I walk teaches me something about creating change. And I'd like to share the first 3 miles with you today and the first 3 lessons that I've learned. Mile 1 was in Tanzania. I walked with a woman named Elizabeth. Elizabeth is an entrepreneur. She is a stove mason, and I'd love for you to watch her full story right now. Look at that smile! She's the best.
Wow.
Punga punga.
When you first meet Elizabeth, Right away, you can tell this is a woman with some fire in her.
Maisha kwa moyo wangu ninao tamani sana. Natamani niwe juu sana.
She's an entrepreneur. She started her own business. But the crazy part is that her business actually solves a community health crisis. Every day, 3 billion people cook their food on an open air flame, inhaling toxic smoke. I mean, they're trying to provide sustenance for their family, and instead, they're killing themselves.
Cooking over open fires is actually one of the largest but least known killers in the world. Over 4 million people die a year in developing nations from cooking over open fires.
I immediately want to get out of this room, and I can't imagine having to cook 3 meals a day here. Cooking that way is the equivalent of inhaling 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Every day.
Moshi unaasiri sana. Inaasiri sana, yani tuseme watu wengi wanaugua sana ugonjwa wa kifua.
I learned that the black carbon emissions from cooking over open flame add up to more pollution than all of the cars and trucks in the world combined. I can't believe that such a huge environmental issue stems from cooking rice and beans. Elizabeth and other women in Mwanza have become stove masons, where they hand make stoves and then they sell them at the market at affordable prices to families in need. This way, a family that gets a stove now has a safe, energy-efficient way to cook their food. I'm cooking more here than I do at home.
Here in Tanzania, we find entrepreneurs and we teach them skills and marketing and financial training so that they can become more profitable stove masons. That's everything from how to find the right materials, how to build a better stove, and then how to actually go out and sell it more efficiently.
When Elizabeth is making the stoves, you can see she has such skill and she takes such care in every move because this little pottery piece is going to drastically change someone's life. So it's portable, lightweight, move it outside, 50% less charcoal costs. So it's energy efficient, it's cost efficient. It's an incredible solution to this huge problem, and it's just a little stove. The stoves are an entrepreneurial solution, and Elizabeth is working for her own income.
It's not a handout, it feels more of an empowerment and investment in this person, and seeing them thrive makes us know that we're on the right track.
Mfano kama leo naweza nikamodi hata majiko 10. Baada ya kuanza kutengeneza majiko, nikaona maisha yangu yameanza kubadilika, familia ikaanza kupata nafuu, watoto nikaanza kusomesha kila kitu.
We want to get more female entrepreneurs in, and we want to also see them bringing up other entrepreneurs under them and training more people, and it really being a chain of success.
Future stove mason, right here. I mean, there's a nonprofit run by women that's empowering women like Elizabeth to make stoves that help other women sell stoves that in the end are helping women that are cooking for their family.
Women in particular tend to be at the bottom of the economic chain, so by focusing on women, we can actually help lift up the entire community. We see greater return on investment when we invest in women.
I mean, she is a hard-working, dedicated woman who's out there every day making stoves and selling stoves and educating other women.
Najisikia vizuri mno, yani najisikia amani. Hapa nilipo mwili yani unalaa tu yani, na mimi nitajitahidi, nitawashauri wanawake wenzangu. Nitajitahidi sana kuishauri Tanzania.
So here's what I'm asking. You have the ability to help Elizabeth and other women in Mwanza. $20 from you gets a stove into the hands of a family that truly needs it. Buy a stove! Please buy a stove. Buy 2 stoves, buy 10 stoves. It's just $20 and it will truly change someone's life. Please donate. It's not one woman for herself, it's one woman for all women.
Na Mungu awabariki sana. Yani mimi natoa kwa niaba ya kikundi pamoja na jamii yote. Karibuni tena Mwanza.
Elizabeth's story is impressive for many reasons. The setup of it is beautiful. As you can tell, there's a nonprofit, the Adventure Project, which teaches Elizabeth how to make stoves so she can earn her own income and elevate her own family. But at the same time, she can work to solve this health crisis. I bet you had no idea about the toxic smoke from cooking like that, right? It's crazy. But the more impressive thing to me about Elizabeth was the beginning and the end of the video. I'm not sure if those of you in the back, if you could read the subtitles. But at the beginning, Elizabeth said that what her heart desired was to be on top. And at the end, she was thanking me on behalf of her tribe and her community and all of Tanzania. You see, Elizabeth wasn't working every day for the $20 sale of a stove. She was standing for something much greater. If you go to work every day to check off your to-do list, to make your appointments, to complete your immediate tasks, you're missing out on so much. If you go to work every day and remember why you're there, if you stand for something greater than yourself, you'll accomplish so much more. Mile 2 was in my hometown of Detroit. I love to travel the world, but I also love to give back at home. We have a lot of need in our own backyard. And in Detroit, I walked with a woman named Ebony. Now, Ebony fell into homelessness when she was 31 years old. She was a mother. She lost her job and her boyfriend kicked her out of the house on a cold February evening, and she picked up her 2.5-year-old son and walked to the local homeless shelter. Now, I don't yet have children, but I can imagine that that is a walk that no mother wants to take. What homeless people really need is a job. And there's an incredible nonprofit in Detroit called the Empowerment Plan. They hire single parents out of Detroit homeless shelters, and they teach them to sew. They sew a winter coat that turns into a sleeping bag, which is then given away to the homeless community. Similar to the Tanzania story, right? A nonprofit teaches a woman to have a skill. They use that to earn their own income, but are also helping the community at large. Sort of similar to your jobs every day. You're hired to do something, to earn your own income, but also to help the community. Ebony's story was impressive because when she was hired into the Empowerment Plan, she was living in the shelter. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever attempted to ride the Detroit public transportation system. It is not efficient. She woke up every morning at 5 a.m. to catch a 5:30 bus to ride 2.5 hours, 3 bus transfers to get to work by 8 a.m. She worked from 8 to 5, took the bus 2.5 hours back to pick up her son from daycare, to go sleep in a homeless shelter, to wake up at 5 o'clock the next morning and do it all over again. 2.5 hour commute. I drove to Lansing last night so that I didn't have to drive an hour and a half this morning. I've never had a 2.5 hour commute in my life. 5 hours round trip. You see, the overwhelming thought when people see homeless people is, don't stand there on the street corner, go get a job. We label them as being lazy, but Ebony proves that she is gonna hustle for this job. I love to play just a quick snapshot so you can meet Ebony. When she was hired into the Empowerment Plan, Ebony hustled. I mean, she hustled.
And I think I cried for a couple of days, but then I got over it. Got up and went to work.
It's a product that's made to help fight homelessness, but it's created by people that were formerly homeless.
I consider it to be more than just a job. I'm doing something that means something.
It's so backwards that people look down on the homeless when really they're the ones that need the most love. And Ebony proves that just one simple opportunity can change everything.
I think that I have reached my full potential here, and I am ready to show everybody how the Empowerment Plan has empowered me.
Please join me, and please donate. So Ebony's story taught me, don't underestimate people. We underestimate people every day. You probably underestimate the survivors. You underestimate how much they can recover, how strong they really are. For sure, you underestimate their family. Everyone underestimated my mom. You probably underestimate your coworkers and how much they're really capable of. The person that you probably underestimate the most is yourself. I love this quote. It says, people overestimate what they can do in a single day and underestimate what they can do in their whole lives. Isn't that amazing? Read it again. People overestimate what they can do in a single day and underestimate what they can do in their whole lives. It's technically an anonymous quote, but it's debated if Bill Gates said it. And if I said something that profound, I would like credit for it, so I put Bill Gates' name at the bottom. But it's so true. Don't underestimate yourself. You are capable of so much, and you are probably holding back on how much you give to the world. The third mile, and the final one you get to see today, was in Guatemala. I walked with a woman named Laura. So Laura lives in a village called San Marcos La Laguna. It's one of those places where there's actually a lot of tourists that come to visit, but then right next door, the indigenous people live in extreme poverty. So Laura, she still wears her traditional outfit. She was expected to get married young, have kids, spend her life making stacks of tortillas to feed her children, which are not very nutritious. They would grow up in that village and live in poverty and continue the cycle. But Laura and the other women didn't want to live that way. A small group band together and they said, we know how to make tortillas, we can open a restaurant and we'll serve food to the tourist clientele that are coming to visit San Marcos. So they opened a restaurant to earn an income and be able to provide a better future for their families. They also decided to use the profits from the restaurant to start a nonprofit feeding program that would provide nutritious meals to the local families that needed it. This is a very progressive group of indigenous women. They mastered the self-sustaining, full-circle nonprofit cycle that we all want, a for-profit entity that funds the nonprofit entity. Please take a moment and meet Laura. Laura is this beautiful Guatemalan woman who is truly progressive. I mean, she sees opportunity and she takes it. I kind of how these women have built an incredibly sustainable system, from how to cook in the kitchen to serving customers to managing the books of a restaurant, yet at the same time cook for the community and provide free meals to those that can't afford it.
Yo quiero vivir mejor, sobre todo quiero ayudar.
To be in a small village in Guatemala and hear women talking about a social enterprise and female empowerment, it's incredibly encouraging to know that if it's happening here, even on a small level, it's happening everywhere.
Y las esperanzas en mí, nunca pierdo la fe en seguir luchando.
Please join me in supporting Laura and all of these incredible women.
Estamos felices, súper felices y maravillosos con todos ustedes. Gracias.
Please donate. Laura taught me to elevate my path. Laura and the other women didn't accept the path that they were on. They decided to stay in San Marcos to keep their traditional lifestyle, but to elevate their life. You are fortunate that every day you go to work already on a path to help people. It's innate in the work that you do. It's great. But how can you elevate that? How can you do more? How can you make more out of the opportunities you have with the people standing in front of you? So those are the first 3 miles of Walk a Mile. Collectively, they raised over $57,000 to help the charities in Tanzania, Detroit, and Guatemala. And I have 23 miles more to go. 26 miles is a lot. I'm like, why did I commit to doing this thing? And then I tell myself, stand for something greater, Mal. Don't underestimate yourself, Mal. Elevate your life path. And I do it. I wanted the women to feel like they were part of something greater. Because you see, even though each mile helps a charity, it really proves that through empathy, we can all be connected. When I'm walking with the women, the footsteps start to feel familiar because they feel like my own story. The lessons I learn apply in my life, they apply in yours. And these women would never meet each other, but I wanted them to know that they were a group. So I created 26 identical necklaces, and I give one to each woman when I walk with her. They have a globe charm on them, you can see in the photo. The woman wearing it is from an upcoming mile in India. She has scars because she's an acid attack victim. I wear the 27th necklace. Mine is a little special because it has 2 charms on it, the globe to match the women, and a footstep for my brother. Do you ever notice that people in wheelchairs have the softest feet? They truly do. They have baby feet because they're not blistered and calloused because they're trying to like wear high heels every day. My family loved my brother's feet. It was kind of this inside joke between our family, and so I thought if I could put his footstep on my neck, he could come with me around the world, and he could walk with me. But unfortunately, life doesn't go as planned. 2 days before Walk a Mile was scheduled to launch, my brother Derek passed away. It was November 25th, 2018. A Sunday afternoon, he was home with my mom. A normal day, totally unexpected. He just closed his eyes, and he never opened them again. And so now, instead of Derek walking with me around the world, I walk in honor of him and his incredible life. You see, people always ask me if I lived big because my brother couldn't. He never took one independent step in his whole life, and I've been to 50 countries. Did I go see everything that he couldn't and see it for the both of us? But that never sounded right to me. I didn't live big to make up because my brother couldn't. I lived big because my brother taught me how to live. He taught me what was important in life. He taught me that if you showed up with an open heart and you care about people, you give it all you've got. That's the point of life. I want to end this today telling you guys that you're capable of an impact far greater than you could imagine. The world truly needs your heart. It needs your compassion. There is a ripple effect to empathy, and the end result is something far greater than you know. The last story is about Billy. You remember him? The father from Vegas. So Billy told me that he wanted to see his children, to hold his children before he died. And although I couldn't reunite him with his children, I still wanted to help. So I published his story online. I asked people to donate, and we raised $15,000 to help buy basic supplies for the people living in the tunnels. We bought socks and toiletries, flashlights, batteries, canned goods, phone cards, bus cards. I wanted to thank Billy for being so open and so vulnerable with me. And so I gave him, we raised enough money to give him dentures. You see, after 20 years on the streets, Billy only had 4 teeth left in his mouth. So I took him to the dentist, we got him full dentures. He could finally chew properly, he was smiling, and I flew home thinking I had done a pretty good job. Until I got an email. And this is what it said. Hi, Mallory. My name is Brittany. I just saw a video that you posted on your YouTube channel from your time in Vegas. The man in your video, if he is who I think he is, I'm his daughter. And it was true. Brittany was Billy's daughter. She hadn't seen her dad in 20 years. He became homeless when she was 5. She was now 25 years old. So I bought Billy a Greyhound bus ticket, and he took a bus from Las Vegas, Nevada to Houston, Texas, where Brittany lived. She got him a job, she got him a place to stay, and 3 years later, Billy is a whole new man. Billy lives down the street from his daughter. He sees his grandchildren every week. He's a hardworking Texas man. He just bought his first truck. He and I stay close in touch. And if you go to any of the Walk a Mile fundraisers, you noticed that the first donor on every single one is Billy. It's his way to pay it forward. Billy calls me his guardian angel. He says that I saved his life. He says that after 20 years of living underground in a tunnel, I gave him a new life. And although that's very flattering, I don't really feel like I did that much. Billy had it in him the whole time. His daughter had it in her. They just needed someone to show up with an open heart and to light the way. You are capable of creating a profound impact in the world. Stand for something great. Don't underestimate yourself, and elevate that path. The world needs you to do it. Right now, we live in a world that is so in need of compassion. There are tons of people that just lost their homes in Hurricane Dorian. There are more mass shootings in our country than ever before. And even in your own field, the new change in the no-fault laws are going to drastically affect so many people that you work with closely. Let your compassion shine and let it lead the way. I'll be out there walking too, so I will see you guys on the road. Thank you.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Hang on a second.
On behalf of the Brain Injury Association, I want to present you with.
There we go. It's not on. There we go. On behalf of the Brain Injury Association and everybody in here, I want to thank you for your presentation today. Please accept this.
Thanks,
on our
John.
behalf. Thank you so much, man.
Oh my God. We gotta talk. Okay?
With that, it is 9:30, so we are right on schedule.
Two of you together and with her.
Okay, great.
Have a great conference, and let that be your inspiration for the next 2 days. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I typically don't
stay for these events. I'm out in the hall.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thanks. Here, let's grab this photo real fast.
Oh, man.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Like I said, good luck. I'm going to
Thanks.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
you.
Of course. Thank you. Thanks. Good job. Thank you.
This is Janice.
Oh, hi.
She's our boss.
Hi. Nice to meet you.